As promised, joining us now is Paul LaMonica from Barron's, and we're going to be talking a little bit about sports gambling stocks here. Paul, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys doing?
Good. I know you put together a piece on a couple of these companies. Can you talk a little bit about what was in there?
Yeah, DraftKings and Flutter Entertainment, which is the owner of FanDuel, they dominate the legal sports betting market. I mean, they have by far the biggest market share, over half of the overall market in the US, even though there's a lot of competition from the likes of MGM and Caesars, Fanatics, and obviously even ESPN with their branded sports gambling service that's run by the casino company Penn Entertainment. But FanDuel and DraftKings remain the leaders, and that's reflected, I think, in their stocks as well. DraftKings shares up more than 20% this year. FanDuel up more than 15%, I believe, at last check. So they've had strong years, and I think investors are hopeful that more people are going to be betting even more money on legal NFL games this year. The American Gaming Association, I think, had an estimate of a nearly 10% increase in betting on sports to about 30 billion this year.
So we haven't seen any signs that sports betting is peaking. It still is growing in terms of the overall activity level.
Yeah, it still is growing, and like I said, the largest two companies are increasingly grabbing market share. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why those two stocks have done well. But as is always the case, and gamblers know this firsthand as well as investors, sometimes you have to take money off the table. I think DraftKings and Flutter, FanDuel are both solid companies that deserve their market leading positions, but the valuations are starting to look a little stretched as well, more so for DraftKings than for Flutter. But they're trading at premium prices, and given their run up this year, maybe they pull back a little bit. But that being said, obviously we're heading into seasonally a very strong time for these companies, because in addition to pro football, you have college football, you have the start of the NBA season, the Major League Baseball playoffs. So there's a lot of sports activity out there for gamblers to wager on.
Couple of sports leagues have seen some gambling scandals in the last year. I know the NBA has. I know Major League Baseball has. Any signs that there might be pushback coming, either legislatively or from leagues about this, or is the goose just too golden for them to do anything about it?
Yeah, I think the leagues have to look at it very seriously. Anything that compromises the integrity of the game is a huge concern. And I think you do have to wonder if there are going to be legislatively some changes that could impact the industry. I mean, one thing that is interesting is that it got snuck into the one big beautiful bill, Trump's stimulus plan that was approved by Congress, that there's a provision now that makes it more difficult for gamblers to deduct losses for tax purposes, and that is something that could be problematic. Now whether or not that causes people to say that, okay, instead of legally betting, I'm going to bet with bookies underground, so I don't have to
Mm.
report income. And obviously that is one of the things that when you are betting through a legal sports app, there is a record of it. You can't hide your wins and losses from the government. Usually not a problem when you're losing money, but that might be a concern now if it's no longer, something that gamblers can count on to be able to, get some advantageous, issues, if they are actually losing money.
Paul, you mentioned that these two companies are gaining market share. How come the established companies can't compete in this space as well? I mean, I see MGM bet commercials all over the place. They've got casinos. Why are the traditional casino operators not on the cutting edge here? What they miss out on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm not so sure. I mean, I think, as is often the case in emerging businesses, you wind up having tech savvy companies that are able to take advantage of being a first mover. I think that maybe some of the casino companies were a little late to the game, concerned about what legal online sports betting might do to their actual very profitable sports books at physical casinos. And, I think MGM and Caesars, some of the other companies, they're doing a good job. And as you mentioned, I mean, not a day goes by where you're not seeing a commercial. I guess you got John Hamm now of Mad Men fame for MGM is the latest. But I think that DraftKings and FanDuel, they've proven that they've been able to use that first mover advantage and run with it.